So I'm here at the NEC at Packaging Innovations Show, and I'm with Lucy Frankel from Vegware. Lucy, you've been talking today about the environmental agenda and about the realities of sustainability. Would you just like to explain from Vegware's point of view where you think we are on the journey?
Sure. I think we have come a long way. A lot of people, when they think of eco-packaging, they feel very attracted to it for all of the marketing benefits, but they're thinking of the eco-packaging that was around, say, 5 years ago. But really what we have now is essentially a one-stop shop. There's huge technical advances, so where maybe 5 years ago you get things that weren't good for hot food, for example, now we have all sorts of innovations, all sorts of things that really work perfectly, and in many cases they actually perform better than the conventional plastic packaging.
Okay. So that takes us probably to compostability or composting. Where is that in your view at the moment, in terms of consumer understanding?
Well, the term compostable is often slightly misunderstood, if you like. Everyone understands what biodegradable means. Biodegradable means that something can break down naturally over time. If you want that to go to organics recycling, to industrial food waste recycling, it has to be compostable. That means that it can biodegrade in under 12 weeks. So it can biodegrade and it can do it fast. And that's key, because if you're going to send it to the industrial food waste composting, you don't want something to sit around. They're not doing it for the love of it. It's an industry. They have to have the throughput of materials, so what goes in has to be compostable. It has to be completely compostable. And so that's why we at Vegware make sure that everything we have in its finished form is not only compostable, but it's certified compostable, because let's face it, there's some companies out there who like to use the word green but don't really back it up and explain what they mean. So we are trying to cut through that and make sure that anything that we claim, we have certification to back it up. So that obviously goes for compostability, but that goes for our food migration certification as well. So we're being very clear about joining up the dots and having the paperwork to back it up as well. If I can carry on with the point about compostable packaging and what it's for, there's 3 times in the life of the packaging when it has benefits. So the word compostable makes you think of the end of life. I'll come to that in a minute, but there are huge benefits before use and during use as well. So if we look at before the packaging is even used, if it's compostable, then in our case with Vegware, it's plastic free. It's packaging made from plants. That's one of our big key straplines, packaging made from plants. So it's low carbon. We've just gone through a process of getting carbon figures for all the materials that we use and comparing them to the carbon emissions in manufacturing the resins that we're competing against. So for example, bagasse, which is recycled sugarcane, comparing that in carbon emissions to expanded polystyrene, which is often replacing. There's a 99% difference there. So that's a huge, huge decrease in the carbon emissions on the manufacturer side. And then let's think about during use. Our materials are breathable. We're being used by the best fish and chip shop in the UK. Lots of fish and chip shops love us, but the reason is, forget the sustainability stuff. Of course that's interesting, but if you have a box that doesn't make your food sweaty and soggy, then you're onto a winner. So who wants sweaty, soggy fish and chips? Nobody. And so they're using bagasse and they're using our food cartons. It's breathable and it's performing better in many instances. So that's the before and the during. I've touched upon the whole after use bit, but I'd like to come back to that. Compostable packaging is the solution, the only solution for zero waste in a food service environment. There's a key thing behind that. It's that you can't recycle food with plastic in it, and you can't recycle plastic with food on it. You take 2 different waste streams, mix them up together, and you create a problem. So what we're doing with compostable packaging, we're creating the packaging that's inevitably going to meet the food, and we're having it share the same recycling stream. It doesn't matter that your sandwich box is covered in mayonnaise or the bag has got half a pasty left in it. They're different materials, but they share the same recycling stream. And so if it can all go together in the same bin, then the other bins, think about your general waste bin, you've removed your food waste, you've removed your contaminated food service packaging, everything else is cleaner, everything else is easier to recycle. And so this is where we are helping people to really go to zero waste to landfill. And there's all sorts of sustainability benefits there, but really it's a cost saving as well. We work with Royal Bournemouth Hospital. It's an NHS hospital. They use compostable packaging. They serve any takeaway food in it. It, after use, goes in the food waste bin. They have done their own sums completely independently of us, and obviously I'm delighted because they found out that where their general waste is going to energy from waste, to incineration, their catering waste, which is the food waste and the used vegware, that waste stream for them is 70% cheaper than the waste to incineration. So that stops being just an environmental argument, which of course is very powerful, but that makes the accountants sit up and listen.
Yep.
And of course the NHS has to look for savings, and so this is a really good news story, and that's happening across the board. Of course, Scotland has new legislation that all businesses are required by law to recycle. Food businesses have to introduce food waste recycling. So this is big news. This is not niche. This is really mainstream.
So brand owners and producers and so on have to get on board and have to understand it. But is there an issue around consumer understanding? Does there have to be more communication in the consumer space?
Education is key. It's incredibly important that everyone understands what is meant by the labels on the packaging. Everyone feels warmly towards something that is sustainable or green in some way, but absolutely education is key, and that's why we do so much in terms of our communications. So I'm the communications director. I've got a team that work with me, and that's really what we focus on. We've got our own online magazine. We do myth busters and case studies and jargon busters, and that's precisely for that reason.